taking the place of Blair today, Senator Pro Tem. I think we're ready to get started, so we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. We'll start out, we had some senators who have newly been added or weren't here last week, so we want to go ahead and swear them in as well so that they can officially participate in the business. So we'll start with that. If we could, if you are new and have not yet been sworn in, if you could stand. And then I'll just have you, in a second, raise your hand, repeat after me, you'll state your name, and then either say solemnly swear or affirm. You don't have to say swear or affirm. Say solemnly swear or affirm. And repeat after me, and we'll swear you in, and then we'll move on. All right. So, please repeat after me. I, state your name.
I
Do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the graduate student body, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will faithfully discharge my duties as senator under the Constitution of the graduate student body, on which I am about to enter. All right. Thank you guys. You're all now officially senators. So we'll move on to the roll call. So what we can do, I know we'll use the clickers. Some of you may not have clickers, which we should probably Does anyone who is a senator not have a clicker?
I gave them someone else's.
Okay, so they all have someone right now.
We only have one.
Okay, yeah, we'll probably need one per person, so we'll get a couple more switched out. Before we vote on any resolutions or bills, we'll double check and make sure no one came in that should have had whichever clicker, so we can switch back and know we're all on the right page. So we'll take 1 second to make sure we all have clickers. Yeah. So before anybody leaves tonight that has a different clicker than would be otherwise assigned to you, make sure you come up and let us know which clicker number you have so we can properly track the votes. So just come up at the end of the night. Anyone else need which clicker? We got one. We're all good?
Yeah. If you got a replacement clicker, just please bring everything back to me so that I can mark it in the software.
All right, so then we'll proceed with the roll call. So go ahead and click on your clicker to mark yourself present before this timer counts down.
Press 1.
Press 1. Yeah. All right. Seems right. Okay. All right. Next order of business is the approval of the minutes that were distributed to you prior to the meeting. We can put them up. All right, so we'll now consider the approval of the minutes. If there are no amendments, I will entertain a motion for unanimous consent. Is there a second? Any objections? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. All right, next order of business is our special guest, Dr. Larry Dooley, the Interim Vice President for Research, who will be giving a presentation. So let's welcome him. And you have the floor.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to come talk to you this evening. At one time, I was sitting where you're sitting as a graduate student, so I know it's a fun time. Help me understand Koala is here. How many people from architecture, arts, and humanities? Okay. How about calculus, agriculture, parts, and life science? Engineering and science? Okay. Let's see, who am I leaving out? Business and behavioral science? Good. And what did I? ADHD. Okay, I think that's it.
Yes.
Okay. Wanted to kind of get a feel for your background. What I thought I would try and do this evening is convince you that you are a very important person in this enterprise that we call the research enterprise at Clemson. A little bit about my background. I graduated at Virginia Tech in mechanical engineering. Went into industry for about 3 years, and then decided to go back to graduate school. I was doing electronic packaging, heat transfer, fluid dynamics, shock and vibration for shipboard avionics for the Navy, and just got interested in bioengineering and came back to Clemson, which was just starting a program then. Thought I'd get my master's, finished that, and then decided to stay on for a PhD. Finished that. Then I was a tenured faculty member at Mississippi State for a number of years. Moved to Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology, Fairfield, Indiana. Then decided to go back in the industry, in corporate research. Did that for about 3 years, and then came back to academia. Was recruited back to South Carolina to be the director of the South Carolina Bioengineering Alliance, collaborative program with Clemson, MUSC, and USC. Did that for a while. Then I was department head in bioengineering, associate dean for research, dean for engineering and science, and now serve as vice president for research. So I've kind of moved around and had a pretty good perspective on university research. And it's sort of taken me a while to figure out what all the wheels are, where does everything fit together. And so I thought I'd share some of that with you tonight. And let me put it in the context of Clemsonville for you. You know, we're a public land grant university, and that's significant because we typically have the tradition of science and agriculture, engineering, technical-oriented land grant university. And that makes a difference that I'll elaborate on later. If you look at where we are right now, we're sort of medium-sized. This year, we're bumping maybe about 24,000 students altogether from all over the United States, all over the world. Last year, we did about $108 million in funded research. And I'll put that in perspective for you a little bit, too. The college structure that we have right now, these 5 colleges, is sort of unique. We went through a reorganization in 1995 where faculty had engaged for about 2 years doing strategic planning. We absolutely had it figured out how the university should be organized. We presented that to the Board of Trustees, 2 years of work, and we thought we were brilliant. They threw that out in 45 minutes, reorganized the college. We went from 10, reorganized the university. We went from 10 colleges down to 5 in 45 minutes. And this structure has served us pretty well for a while, but now we're in a reorganization mode again. So it's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out and what impact it has. With that reorganization, with those 5 colleges, we've focused on these 5 emphasis areas, if you will, and I list them there: advanced materials, automotive and transportation technology, biotechnology and biomedical sciences, information, computer technology, and sustainable environment. So we tend to look at where the faculty are working in those areas, and we look at how our awards are coming in those particular areas. And each one of those emphasis areas is anchored not only by the faculty, but by a physical structure. For example, advanced materials, we have an advanced materials lab in the research park about 8 miles from campus. And a lot of the advanced work goes in there, but it's distributed across campus in different areas also, and different departments. In the area of automotive and transportation technology, the anchor for that is CUI-CAR, International Center for Automotive Research, which is about 45 minutes away from campus. This has been a unique program, the only PhD program in automotive engineering and strong ties to the European, Japanese automotive industry. Lots of collaboration with BMW, Michelin. Typically, faculty and research there is focused on these 6 areas that I've emphasized for you here. Propulsion and emissions, connected vehicle, advanced materials, sensors, processes, and memory, manufacturing technology, and business analytics. The automobile is turning out to be a rolling data communication system going down the highway, communicating with other cars, communicating with the environment, sensors in the roadbed. So it's really a dynamic time in the automotive industry. And we're well positioned to take advantage of that with this particular center. In the area of biotechnology and biomedical sciences, what we've done there in terms of the Genomic Institute, our bioengineering program, we started the biomaterials program in the United States. The first 6 years, we actually had the Society for Biomaterials meetings on the Clemson campus. Rapidly outgrew that, it became a national organization. Then there was an International Society for Biomaterials. So really, Clemson is recognized as the birthplace of that particular field of research. And that's significant, establishes our national reputation. We moved into other areas of materials such as tissue engineering, and the developing collaboration now with the Medical University of South Carolina, the Greenville Health System, the Greenwood Genetics, is putting an entirely new focus on that, which is really also bringing a lot of attention to it. This particular emphasis area is really anchored by the Biosystems Research Complex on campus. Then if you look at the information in IT, we've had a rich history in wireless communications. We've got one of the faculty members that developed the spread spectrum technology that's used by military now. As Mike Persley, one of the faculty members in electrical engineering, has been quite active in that area for a number of years. Other areas such as applied electromagnetics and high-performance computing. What we've been able to accomplish here in our high-performance computing environment is really unique for a college of this size, and I'll elaborate on that in a second too. And then in the area of sustainable environment, we've got several graduate programs that are nationally ranked in that particular area. A lot of energy initiatives going on, which I've listed here, the alternative energies, methods, restoration of our natural and built environments. And the Clemson Restoration Institute is the physical structure that sort of anchors this particular emphasis area. Now that's located down in Charleston. We were fortunate to get about 25 acres from the previous naval yard, the old naval base there. And we are constructing our facility on that. We're unique in the fact that we're right on the Cooper River. We have our own dry dock that you can bring in about a 400-foot boat and service it. But for what we do there in terms of wind turbine drivetrain test facilities, the ability to bring in very large wind turbines by barge, bring them down by rail, the amount of power that comes onto that naval base, we were unique in having all those assets there and able to latch onto that. So that puts us in a unique position there also. And this has attracted a lot of industrial support for these types of activities. The International Center for Automotive Research, the 250-acre campus, altogether now it's attracted about $240 million of public-private partnership. We didn't invest as an institution $240 million in that. We put state money, private money, federal money, university money together to realize that. So it's a significant site. You probably have seen it as you go up and down I-85 on the way to the airport. You should swing in there someday. It's an interesting facility. The wind turbine drivetrain test facility, we have the world's largest wind turbine drivetrain test facility located down there in Charleston, 7.5 megawatt and a 15 megawatt facility that we can test. The closest other facility is a 5 megawatt test facility out in Colorado. And again, to show you the contribution and make the point that graduate students are quite important, we were putting together this wind turbine drivetrain test facility, received about close to $50 million of the Department of Energy funding that we then matched with another $50 million. So it's a $100 million investment there. And we were quite proud of this 15 megawatt generator. One of the graduate students in electrical engineering, Curtis Fox, said, hey guys, you know, if you think about it, you got all the elements here of an unbelievable grid simulator. I mean, when you crank this thing up and you generate 15 megawatts, what are you going to do with it? You can't dump it out on the grid and disrupt the entire electrical system in the low country. So the faculty, after a while, said, I hate to say it, but he's right. We put another proposal in to the Department of Energy, and they gave us another $10 million to develop a unique electrical grid simulator now. So now with that ability to generate 50 megawatts, simulate the grid, we have a unique facility that's not matched in the world anywhere. And it is attracting a lot of companies. What happens if everybody suddenly has electrical vehicles and they plug them in at night or during the day? What's that going to do to the grid? All those types of things. As storms come through, the power goes down, we can simulate all of those now with that particular grid simulator. So it's a very nice system. This is what the facility looks like down there in Charleston in terms of the South Carolina Electrical and Gas gave a significant amount of money, and so therefore they get the name of the facility in the building. This is the 7.5 megawatt tester. To put it in perspective for you, there's an individual right down here in the corner to kind of give you a sense of the scale of that. And this is the 15 megawatt being assembled, and this is the artist's rendition when it's being assembled and tested. And again, give you a sense of scale. This is an individual. So this is a very massive facility there. The amount of concrete and the number of pilings that went in under this particular facility in the low country, sand, soil, right beside the water. It was a massive construction project also, and quite interesting. We poured concrete, trucks lined up for 5 solid days, 24 hours a day, coming in with concrete. And this is the grid simulator. It's hard to appreciate in terms of the capability, but it is unique. Now, it's important in that all of this matches with the cyber infrastructure. And you know, we used to talk about infrastructure back in the 20s through the 60s, 70s, thinking of physical infrastructure, roads, bridges, that type of thing. But I don't need to tell you now that cyber infrastructure really refers to the distributed computing capability and the power that we have in high-performance computing. And that's impacting virtually all disciplines. Our Palmetto high-performance computing cluster ranks exceedingly high nationally and internationally. It was one of the top 5 the last time I looked, and I can probably update that slide, in terms of public universities with computational capability and speed. So it is a significant resource. And to really put it in perspective, you are coming along at a time in science when it's really being revolutionized by cyber infrastructure. Modern science now is in the stage where we used to have a single person, Isaac Newton, sitting thinking of grand theories. Now it's everyone collaborating together. It's data-intensive computation, simulation, distributed, multi-scale collaborations, and complexity that we had not thought about before. And so the challenge to us at Clemson is really to transition the educational experience that you get to accommodate that. It's integrative, multi-scale. It is different from any way we've done science and engineering in the past. If you don't think that's true, think a minute. 1 billion hours ago, our species emerged. 1 billion minutes ago, Christianity began. 1 billion seconds ago, the IBM personal computer was released. 1 billion Google searches ago, well, that was this morning. The amount of computing power worldwide that we now have and the impact that that's making on our educational environment and the information that you have available is an entirely different graduate experience than I had. And it's quite exciting to think about. So, I made the point that Clemson is a land-grant university. And what do you think about when you think of land-grant? What do you hear all the time? It's teaching, it's research, it's public service. It's it's academics, it's research, it's economic development. How do all those elements fit together? Where does a graduate student like you fit into that environment? I said you're one of the most important people on campus because how well you do in your graduate work, the results that you get, what you publish, how you present in national conferences, all of that reflects upon your advisor, your department, the reputation that they have, and that reputation comes together and impacts the reputation that Clemson University has nationally and internationally. So it all starts with what you're doing. Now, not all of you are in fields that attract a lot of dollars, and I'll emphasize dollars a lot because research costs money. But those of you in the humanities, arts, English, those disciplines may not have the opportunity to attract funding, but you also make a contribution there to the reputation of the institution. If you have a juried piece of art or a publication, a book published that receives a national award, that contributes to the reputation of the institution just as well as the dollars. And so if I emphasize dollars, I am not shortchanging any of those in those disciplines because they're just as important and impacts the institution just as well. For the sake of time, I'm going to skip that. Typically where universities get their money, about 60% of it comes from the federal government, and that's the sort of burnt orange line that you see there. About 20% comes from institutions themselves. Industry contributes about 6 to 8%, and other things like foundations and other things. So federal funding is very important. And the research office, my role is to take a look at how faculty are applying for grants, where they're applying, how successful we are, what can we do to change that, what can we do to increase our success rate, all of those types of things. So the research office is made up of pre and post award people that help faculty get those proposals submitted. It's made up of post awards people that take the money in, get the account set up, give you account numbers from which to spend funds, and then all the compliance issues. We're heavily regulated by the federal government, by state rules and regulations, so we try and keep everyone aware of that, stay out of trouble. There's an institutional review board, protection of human subjects, protection of the animals, safety, biological, chemical, radiological safety. Put it all together, and the research division is close to about 100 people that are in the background helping the faculty conduct the research and deliver it on time and within budget. If you look at what Clemson does, your faculty advisor and the faculty members across campus generate on the order of about 1,400, 1,500 proposals a year. And we track it on a monthly basis of what's going out. This is the last 3 years. And you see, we're sort of doing the same thing this year that we did the year before and the year before. And that's a concern. We would like to see that increase. What we ask for, those proposals represent about $500 million that faculty are requesting. Our hit rate is typically on the order of about 15 to 19%. So say 20%. So if we hit 20% of that, we're going to bring in about $100 million. And that's, I track the awards, and that's sort of what we just finished this year with $121 million. You can see year before 108, 102. So we are, as an institution, sort of stagnant. We're putting out the same number of proposals, requesting about the same amount of money, and getting the same amount in. We've got a new president that realizes Clemson University is an outstanding undergraduate institution. We've reached a lot and received a lot of acclaim for that nationally. We're ranked in the top 20 as an undergraduate institution. But if we're going to go up with higher national rankings, it's going to have to be on the back of the research profession and research productivity at Clemson. So there's a lot of emphasis now in raising the research productivity, which means we're asking faculty to submit more proposals, be more focused on what federal agencies want to fund, and be more hard-hitting and be successful there. So if you see a lot of stress on your faculty members and your advisors, that's why. Particularly those that do not have tenure. I would not like to be an assistant professor starting out now without tenure. This is a tough time, and not only at Clemson, but any university, a lot of pressure and stress to produce. The public or parish saying is very true for the profession. How many of you plan on an academic career? Okay, great. You're looking at a lot of hours and a lot of fun, okay? As you can see, we sort of follow the national trends. About 80% of our funding comes from federal and the other from industry. And I've listed here where we spend the money, what it comes from. National Science Foundation, you can see, is the big agency that we go to. Our faculty are most successful with. Department of Energy, Department of Health, Human Services, NIH, we get a pretty good share of funding from them. And if you look at the colleges, engineering and science is the big hit on the block, followed by agriculture, forestry, and then PSA, HEHD is in there pretty good. So engineering and science generates about over half of the funded research that we have on campus. And so you have a lot of concern. Faculty members in AIA say, hey, we don't get a share of our resources. Everyone has an equal opportunity to be unequal, right? And so those that do that will be rewarded. So if we report total research expenditures to the National Science Foundation every year, and that's this particular graph. When our total for NSF is around 160, 150 million. Federal money is typically around 50 million. The rest of that is made up of those percentages, institutional funds, industry funds, those types of things. Sort of put it in perspective for you. We look at other schools. This is Georgia Tech. You can see they have over $700 million in funding. And the thing that's significant about them that makes it we're different is almost 70% of their funding comes from the federal government. They do not have to use as much institutional funds because they attract so much. And so this is kind of some of the discussion that goes on in the administration. How can we up our federal funding? How can we get more money to invest back in facilities, laboratory supplies, infrastructure, all those types of things. We look at a lot of schools. I'm going to skip those. Okay, I said you're important. Where do you fit in this enterprise? Now, it's taken me quite a few years to come up with this particular diagram. And this captures actually all the elements of the university. The academic side, the research side, and the economic development. How it all fits together, and it fits together very nicely. Research is the business of asking questions. It can be basic, very fundamental, inquiry-driven questions, or it can be applied, solving a problem that industry may want. That leads to proposal submission. Then we go to the agencies, whether it's federal, state, foundation, institution, to get funds. Those funds, you do the project, and you come out with answers. Those answers are published. Hopefully there's some new knowledge in there. If there's some new knowledge, there's going to be some intellectual property developed. And that intellectual property then feeds the economic development side. There may be new companies developed. Companies may come in and license that intellectual property. Our graduates are, you as a graduate going to work for a company is the best form of technology transfer. So all of those things components make the economic component. None of this would work, though, without the academic side. This is the manpower. The faculty, the staff, the undergraduate students, the graduate school, and here you as graduate students. You're the workforce, you're the driver, you're the ones that actually do the work. Supported by postdocs, research faculty, and then all the infrastructure. So corporate engagement typically comes into the university looking for something that they can develop a competitive advantage in the marketplace, give a return to their investors, and so they're looking for IP, they're looking for graduates, and they're looking for unique facilities and equipment. So that's why it's things like an ICAR, Curie, all of that unique equipment is very, very important also. So that's the research enterprise right now in the United States. So if we want to know how that's doing, we monitor things, and these are all the things then that we look at. The dollars expended per tenure track faculty member, the number of proposals being submitted, how many graduate students are supported on external grants, all of those types of things. How many postdocs do we have? What's the graduation rate for master? We'll take a look at I can probably see if I can still see it. Yeah, the total grant dollars, dollars per grant, all those types of things. But then these awards here, these are recognition awards, not monetary awards. The number of awards, national awards a faculty member may get, the percent of faculty receiving those, and that's where the humanities, the social sciences, those history, all arts, architecture, all of those fit in. And so it all makes up the continuum that we're looking at in terms of the spectrum. And that's why I say everyone is important. All the disciplines contribute to the reputation. And then we talk about market share. This is for automotive engineering. We compare against, since we have aspirations to be a higher national institution, the Carnegie ranking system of very high institutions. If we take public, go to the Carnegie database, take public universities, no medical school, that is a subset of about 29 universities. And when we compare ourselves to that subset, those institutions, this is where they get their money from. And right now, this is where we get our money from compared. And so it gives us an idea of where we need to go, what faculty need to do, what agencies they need to branch out to. So those metrics come in very, very important. I move very quickly to try and give you a sense that you are an amazing and very important player in this research enterprise. Clemson is unique. We are a different kind of research university. We value the small town atmosphere, the unique campus environment we have, the sense of place. At the same time, we're not afraid to have big economic development ideas. Best example is ITAR. I'll tell you just a short story about that. When we started ITAR, we thought that we had the idea of exactly what was needed here in the Southeast as far as automotive engineering research. We thought we wanted to have a $50 million wind tunnel. And in that wind tunnel, we were going to have a 200-mile-an-hour rolling test bed that the car could be on, simulating going down at 200 miles an hour and change the wind dynamics. And we thought, aha, we're halfway between Atlanta, Charlotte, right in the middle, we can attract NASCAR. This would be perfect. So we went to BMW and we said, this is what you guys need. You need this $50 million wind tunnel and you need the 200-mile-an-hour rolling test bed. And all we want you to do is give us about $70 million and we can realize that. And they said, no way do we want to be associated with NASCAR. We are a luxury brand. You guys have got it all wrong. And no way do we want to invest in that. And so we went around 3 or 4 years thinking that we had the answers. Only when the faculty realized, whoa, what we need to do is ask them what they're interested in funding, because obviously we don't have the answer. So we said, tell us what you would like to invest in funds in. How can we help you? And they said, what we're interested in doing is developing the next generation of systems engineers that we need for the automotive industry. And to help you do that, we'll give you $40 million. And so the lesson there is, no matter if you think you've got your perfect research project, and you go to your advisor or committee and say, this is what we need to be doing research on, you've got to turn it around and say, what do you think we need to be doing research on? Ask the customer, ask your advisor, ask a funding agency. Faculty members, when they start out, have the same problem. You will face that as a new faculty member, those of you going into academia. You may have finished your PhD dissertation and you think you've got all the answers and you propose to a federal agency to keep on funding that line of work. They're not interested in that. Federal agencies all have their own agenda. They know what they would like to invest in. And if you craft your questions in the context of how things they would like to fund, you'll get funded. And so that's part of the game of grantsmanship that you have to learn as a new faculty member. I think that's all there. I thank you very much for the attention. Be glad to answer any questions or comments.
Are there any questions for Dr. Woolley?
Definitely. My name is Dr. Woolley with the International Family Community Studies Program. So certainly have the opportunity to work on some big federal grants in that department, which I really appreciate. question for you is, as you mentioned, the competing demands on professors. What steps does your office take to ensure that sort of that research demand and pressure complements and doesn't come at the expense of time and resources spent on teaching by professors?
Yeah, we try and help emerging faculty members there with the proposal development center. We've got 3 staff members that they can come up and say, you know, where are some agencies I can go to for funding? Do a draft of proposal. We'll critique it. We'll do a mock review session, a review panel. One of the worst mistakes a new faculty member can make is to write a proposal and ship it into the federal agency or any funding agency. Never have it reviewed on campus. It's a lot better to catch mistakes here, and we can fix that. So we try and assist in that role. We provide some seed money. If a faculty member wants to go to NSF or any funding agency, spend a day, meet, introduce themselves, we can pay for an airline trip up there, no problem. Introduce them, urge them, show them how to get on review panels. One of the best ways that you can learn to gain grantsmanship is actually to volunteer to serve on a review panel. And a lot of fact, when you graduate as a graduate student, you think, gee whiz, how do I get on a review panel? I haven't even worked. I don't have much track record, not many publications. But that experience of reviewing other people's presentations, how ideas are presented, you quickly learn to gain grantsmanship. So we try and do those types of things. Depending upon the area and what is being proposed, we may even offer some release time to buy an individual out of the course for a semester, pay the department to let someone else teach the course, those types of things. So we know all the pressures that are there and try and help as much as possible. That's all I know.
So what does the university do to help increase funding that's available for some of these federal agencies that we would write proposals for and try to get money for research?
We have actually a federal liaison office where individuals are up there in Washington. So they try and identify for us where an agency may be looking to invest. And if we know that early, then we will try and connect the faculty members that have that particular expertise in with that program manager. They may want a white paper, and that goes up there, so the faculty member writes that. All those white papers that the agency collects actually contributes to the eventual request for proposal. So if we can get our faculty in the discussion while that's being formulated, then our ideas are going to resonate when it comes out. So that early contact connection is really important. Other questions, yeah?
I was wondering, how do you think that the actual restructuring of the colleges is going to affect the distribution of funding, like the separation of engineering from sciences?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, an interesting time. When we reorganized back in '95, we were consolidating. We were going from 10 colleges down to 5. So you can kind of see, okay, we're going to save some money here, and this could be a good thing. And that reorganization had the effect of putting disciplines together that were never together before. For example, in engineering, we thought we were pretty good. I came out of engineering. We thought we were a pretty good college of engineering. We had a problem with these math guys that never would teach the courses the way we wanted to. Physics and chemistry were failing all of our students. Now we were all in one college sitting around the same table. So we worked out those differences. And that led to a lot of collaboration. There are physics faculty working with electrical computer engineering faculty, material science. So there's a lot of collaboration. And as I indicated, it's all across disciplinary. We've solved all the easy discipline problems right now. The challengers are at the interface between disciplines. So it sounds like we might be going the wrong way when we start pulling physics and chemistry away from engineering. The reality is, though, that college structure really doesn't dictate collaboration. It's the individuals and the culture, and we have a culture of collaboration. So I'm not too worried about that. Also, it's interesting, the board has mandated that this reorganization will cost us no more money. There is no more money to invest. At the same time, we're creating a new college for a new dean's office. It's going to cost some money. So The answer is, and so they said no new expenditures. So we're going to have to do a reorganization with the people and the resources and the staffing that we have. From a research standpoint, there's no additional faculty. The support staff and the pre and post award will still be handling the same number of faculty, still be talking to those. So the impact will be more from the administrative standpoint, I think, as opposed to a faculty-student impact. And that's the approach we've taken with the research office. We're going to provide the same level of support, physics and chemistry, math. Those faculty still need a pre-awards office. They're going to go to the same people that the staff members they've been going to, and it still will function that way. So at the same time, I say that to make it sound easy, it's not. Anytime you have this level of change is unsettling, everybody gets upset, no one likes it. There's the idea that, hey, I'm going to hold on to what I've got. Okay, this group is going away, they're not going to give me support anymore. We've got to work through all that.
Any further questions for Dr. Fu? Seeing none, thank you.
Appreciate it. Good luck.
As we get that switched over, our next order of business is the President's report.
All right, good evening, everyone. Today I'll be talking about two initiatives that are happening on Clemson's campus. One relating to the diversity and the other related to the recreation, campus recreation. So you all must have been hearing about all the diversity and inclusivity that is going around across campus. So there are a lot of talk about it, there are a lot of task forces and groups because feel that it's an issue and the diversity, and it's being tackled through several ways. So one of the things that's happening on our campus is that there's a diversity enrollment strategic plan. So this includes both having diverse faculty as well as diverse students being enrolled on campus. The other initiative is diversity dialogue luncheons, in which we have groups of students meeting over lunch and just talking about a diverse group of students meeting over lunch and talking about the issues that they face. Or, and of course, you have an administrator with them who's there to know what these issues are so that they can be communicated to the new Chief Diversity Office. And a lot of our cabinet members are going to be a part of that so that we can have the graduate student voice during those luncheons. We also have the Diversity Council, that's a group of 20 to 25 students that are working towards the same thing. And again, we have graduate student representation on that council. Then we are having this aggressive search for a new Chief Diversity Officer. We have a new Chief Diversity Office, we have a new Multicultural Center, but they all will be reporting to a Chief Diversity Officer, which is still not there. So it's a very aggressive search, and it's expected that we might have one very soon. For now, we have that position filled by Max Allen, who is the Chief of Staff of the President of Clemson University. The big event that is being organized, keeping diversity and inclusivity in mind, and it's coming up very soon, is the International Festival. This event will be on a Sunday. It's on October 4th. It starts at 12 and will go on till 4 p.m. It's a really big event. In the past, it has attracted around 2,000 people, and it'll happen in the Bowman Field. It's open to everyone, and it has ethnic food and entertainment, arts and crafts, and children activity. So I highly encourage you all to spread this information to all your constituents in the department and encourage them that they attend this event. The other strategic plan that I want to talk about today is the Clemson University Campus Recreation Plan. So whenever we talk about recreation, the first thing that comes to our mind is Pike Recreation Facility. And we all know we have a lot of problems with that. We have a big student population and Pike just can't support it. So there were surveys, there were studies done with Pike, and the results were that facility could only be viable on Clemson University if our student population was 12,000 students. But we're not 12,000, we're 24,000. So we need something, we need more area, we need more facilities that can support Pike and can support more students on campus. So Clemson University recognizes this, and they're working towards four big recreation projects in addition to Pike. The first project is the Douthit Hills Fitness Center. Now you must have seen that we have a new construction happening on campus, the Douthit Hills complex. It's basically a housing complex, but it's also going to house a new fitness center. And that fitness center, its advantages would be that it will be on campus with a lot of parking space. It will have both cardio and weight. It will have 2 fitness studios in it. In all, it adds 30,000 square feet of additional space. The next big project, recreation project that Clemson University is working on are the East Campus fields. So you're going to have additional intramural fields right across from the botanical gardens. The third project is the Outdoor Fitness and Wellness Center, which is a new facility that they're planning to develop on Wire Beach in that area. So it will have 4 to 5 indoor courts. It will have a cardio area, weights area, a functional turf, athletic training facility, and a large indoor event space. So these are the 3 big projects, new projects that will happen. And the fourth one is they are thinking about renovating and expanding Pike, our existing recreation facility. So we feel that, especially the lobby area, if you look at it, it's a very small area. It's not too welcoming, and people are always trying to force you through it so that there's not a lot of crowding there. And they want to make it appealing to people, have some kind of a networking space, programming space, so that it's big and it appeals to more people. So they plan to have a new entry wellness model. They want to correct the infrastructure. It's a very old building, and it was built taking into consideration all those parameters. But now we have different needs, different demands. So that's why we need new infrastructure. And it's in the design phase. Then they are looking to have an open, welcoming environment, increase capacity and variety, both in terms of having the latest kind of equipment and providing more fitness classes. And building for long term, so that after this renovation or expansion, it should still be valid for the next, say, 20, 25 or 30 years. A few statistics that relate to the graduate students in recreation. So out of the students that sign up for outdoor recreation, 17% are graduate students. Out of all the students that play intramural sports, about 4% are international students. Students that take group fitness classes, about 6.3% are graduate students. And finally, our student recreation fee is way less than our peers. So some of our peers is charged 10 times more the fee that we pay currently. So even with this limited budget, our strategic planning team, they are making all this happen. So I think it's a really good job that they're doing. We'll very soon have the director of campus recreation come here and present what these plans are in detail. So make sure that he does that pretty soon. But that's all I have for today. Thank you. If you have any questions, I can try to answer your questions.
efforts are on at Long Beach?
See, it's not started yet. They're looking for donors to name those new facilities. That's how they're raising the funds. But the timeline that they're looking for is about 2017 or 18. That's what they're looking for. That's the target. Yes.
Same question for the behavioral fields.
That should be quicker than that because I'm not sure about the exact timeline. I'll let Dave answer those questions for you because I don't want to give you wrong information. Yeah.
So will all funding be from external donors, or have they said anything about increasing fees on students?
Well, they haven't said anything about increasing fees yet. Like whatever you have for this semester, it will be the same for the next. We have our Will to Lead campaign, which our target is to raise $1 million. So a lot of money would be coming from that, and plus the naming opportunities. They're going to open all these facilities for naming, and they'll have the donors donate for that. So because they know that increasing the fee, they'll have a lot of pushback. So I think, at least for this year, it won't increase.
Any further questions?
In regards to the first part on diversity, I know that, this might be for anyone in the Senate as well, but last January, the Senate passed a resolution in support of renaming Silman Hall. And at that time, the Board of Trustees dismissed that issue. In light of events in the summer, they have appointed a task force to revisit that issue. Is there any plan in the student government leadership to get involved in that effort? Should we authorize our resolution from last year and another show of support? Any thoughts there?
See, they know the support is coming from all around the campus. It's coming from graduate students, undergraduate students, Senate and faculty, staff and faculty. So they know that we all are supporting it, and that's why they will agree to at least consider it. Now, the next Board of Trustees meeting is coming in mid-October, and after that, we will know for sure what's going to happen, and I will keep you informed what we decide.
Any further questions? Seeing none, thank you. Our next order of business is the Vice President of Greenville Council's report.
Hey guys, I'm Chandler, for those of y'all who don't know me. Just got a few brief things to inform you about for JC Greenville. So last night we had our second meeting, which went really well. We had a few new senators sworn in, and I'm pleased to say that we have participation from 8 of the 9 Greenville programs now. So that's really exciting. That's one of my main goals for this year, is to get all 9 programs involved in some way or another. So that's great. Let's see. So another thing, Blair and I are leading the special committee for constitutional revision that was brought up at the previous Senate meeting here. So this basically ensures that all the Greenville rules and voting policies are accounted for, so we can properly get added into this Senate. And until this happens, senators from my council won't have votes in anything here unless they're present here. So that's something that we're going to work through with this committee. So we're looking for 3 representatives from this Clemson Senate, as well as 3 representatives from my council to kind of help me and Blair kind of form this new policy and all the new, or this new document. So if you have any interest in that and helping us with that, please let me or Blair know. So yeah, that's about all I had for tonight. Does anyone have any questions about GSP Greenville?
Any questions for Vice President? Seeing none, thank you. All right, next order of business is cabinet reports. We'll start with the Co-Secretary of Research, Maria Rogers.
Hi everyone, I'm Maria. If you were at the first Senate meeting, Vipul was talking about our committee a little bit. We are the Secretaries of Research and Procurement, so we take on events like 3-Minute Thesis and the Graduate Research and Discovery Symposium in the spring. So we're just looking for a few more members of our committee, especially if you're not in STEM. We have a very STEM-heavy committee, so if you're not in STEM and you want to give us a try, we could really use your input, and we'd love to have you. That's all.
Any questions?
There.
All right, next is Secretary of International International Student Affairs.
Hi, I'm Tanya Stewart. I just wanted to share with you guys, we had some meetings this past few weeks and met today with International Services. They will begin to have advisors now in the Greenville location at CUI CAR once a month and also at Greenville 1 once a month. So those are being coordinated and planned, so if you're in the Greenville area, he can share as well with everyone there, but they will be representing, be there to represent the office and help them with any visa issues or questions or anything they're looking for. The other issue that we've been talking about with them is the orientation. The graduate school this year and the international office did their orientations together. It was a big success. We also included tours of the university. A lot of times when graduate students come, they don't get a tour of the college like the undergrads do, so they have to kind of find their way around. So we're in the process of discussing, we've formed a committee about what we're going to do for fall next year and how we're going to work with the grad school again to see if we can make the orientations go a little bit smoother for our international students. So if anybody has any ideas or suggestions, please reach out to myself or Peter, and we'd be more than happy to talk to you and share those with the committee. Any more questions?
Hi, my name is Govik and I'm the activities chair. So last week we had a trivia night, so that we hosted our trivia night at Back Streets, and this Monday we're having a coffee social for all grad students. That's at All In Coffee Shop. So the next month we're planning like some really big events, starting with the tailgate for the Notre Dame game. So GST, like as I mentioned in the previous meeting, that GST has a tailgating spot right in front of Pike. So we're gonna have a tailgating event for the Notre Dame game. So I encourage all senators to please spread the word to your departments and to your students that GST has a tailgate spot, and maybe you can come and hang out with us. The next event that we're looking at is movie premiere. So we had one of our master's students reach out to me, and they wanted to promote the outdoor sport activities, like the different groups that we have in Clemson. And so in order to promote that, they have a movie premiere which is called Unreal, which is a motorbike premiere movie. So they just want to reach out to all the Clemson groups that are there, like the different core groups, and so we are having this event to promote that. Also at the end of the month, we are looking at the Halloween party. So that is something that is kind of going on in discussion with my committee, and these are the 3 big events that we are planning in the next month or so. Thank you.
All right, next we'll go to the Finance Committee.
So the Finance Committee had our first meeting last night, and we met with about 15 organizations and allocated funds, which are in the bill that will be presented pretty soon. Our next Finance Committee meeting is October 15th at 7:30. So if you know orgs who are looking for funding or whatnot, how can fill out the application and see us at that time. It's in the SOC room across the way there.
Any questions for the Finance Committee? All right, next we'll recognize the organizations.
Okay, so we had 3 recognition meetings since our last Senate meeting, or our first Senate meeting, and that has gotten almost all of the recognized organizations through for right now. We have 68 current recognized organizations, and I'm currently in the process of recognizing 2 new organizations. So that's really all that we've worked on so far. We're about to start looking into new online management platforms, so maybe possibly move away from Worksuite, but that's just talk right now, and looking into different platforms to do some research.
Any questions? And then we have the Pegasus Committee.
Yeah, hey, we just finished, as many of you know, giving out the PEGS Fall 2015 grants. For those of you that don't know, PEGS is a committee that the graduate school has, and we give out grants to students that are going to conferences or going to do research. It's to help offset the cost of travel. The available funding for this year is $150,000. We gave out $54,000. We made $54,000 available for the fall. The way we did this year, traditionally what we've done is we've started, after everything is scored, we start with the top score, we work our way down, and then we let the chips fall where they may. And found in the past is that the arts don't get a lot of funding, and that doesn't seem fair. So instead, we put $5,500 for each school, and then once every school got their $5,500, then the rest of it, we went to the traditional way of funding and just started from the top of what was left and worked our way down. So CAFL's got 50% funding, architecture got 33%, business and interdisciplinary got 34%, CES got 39.2%, and health and education got 21%. Overall, I mean, of course, percentages are not exactly even, but overall, every school did better than they have. Well, all the art schools did much better. Did much better than they have in the past when we just kind of went from the top and worked our way down. So I was very pleased with this. I think all the schools will now hopefully feel more encouraged to apply for funding. Any questions?
I just have a question a little bit about how you made an adjustment to give the award, and you already said a little bit about that. But from what I've heard from my own people from my own department and across the department, it's good that the way you kind of present the score of each section, and so we understand that the score of each section is distributed correctly. But what I have heard that they've been discussing is that, you know, it's so hard for us to improve. Like, for example, some people didn't get the funding, and it's so hard to improve because we don't know the explanation.
Actually, we just had a meeting for PICS today, and for next semester, we're going to change the feedback so that you will see the questions that the people looked at, and you'll see where you scored as far as so that you will know next time maybe you need to work a little more on your essay, or you need to work a little more, because yes, last year we changed the way feedback was given, and I was looking over it at the end of this, and I said, I don't think that feedback is giving people enough information to know what they need to work on.
Right.
So for next semester, we're going to have an improved system.
That would be great. Thank you.
Additional questions?
When is the deadline for spring? November or the last meeting?
Yeah, it'll be in November. Could you bring that up, the PICS website, because I don't have it off the top of my head. There it doesn't either. Yeah, Craig is up at the top. November 3rd, yes. We'll start, yeah. And we used to do take the grants towards the end of each semester. The problem with that is that then maybe you don't even know you're going to get a grant before your event happens. And for some people, if they don't know they're going to have the money, they just won't go. So we're trying to do it earlier in the semester to make sure that you'll know ahead of time that yes, you're going to have money to go.
For that review process, for peers reviewing other peers, how are you ensuring that it's not biased? I imagine that people, if they have 5 things to review and it's not from their particular department, that they just are running through and scoring it. So I'm concerned, I think about like the weight those carry, considering that there are more applicants on that chart from other programs, but there's 50% going for a different school that has less applicants. So I'm just interested in like that process and how you kind of navigate that.
Well, one of the things we did was last year we only had 2 scores per application. And so we've expanded it to 5 reviewers per application in order to keep from having one person totally skew the score. And that helps to give it a little bit more stability, I think. Also, yes, there's a certain amount of subjectivity, but if I go through, when I'm doing the reviews, if I go through and I see that maybe Julie, just using a name, Julie, everything she scored low, then I will go back and kind of question that, because if we do find that we have someone who's just scoring low, people low for the sake of scoring them low, we'll go back and we'll review what they've done and decide whether or not that was, that was right.
Okay.
So we do oversight.
And as a follow-up to that question as well, sorry, for the funding justification essay, I know that there's like percentages that are ranked each score, but in terms of like how do you make that essay better, like you may have scored low on that, but you don't know how to make it better. So I've heard of people who submitted like 4 or 5 peg applications, and they've not gotten one, and it's because they're scoring low on their essay, but they're not getting feedback on why it's low.
Okay.
So-
Well, it might, my suggestion for that kind of thing would be to go to the Academic Writing Center, because maybe the writing style is just not up there, and that makes a difference on their people's impression of your essay.
My question kind of builds off of that. I've had a lot of feedback from people in my department, at least, and ones related to it, where it seems like they would like, I guess, a little bit of transparency in knowing how you're going to be graded while you're writing the grant. I mean, you're obviously not going to give them all the questions. They're going to be graded on the algorithm that's used to score it. But if you can say, while you're writing this grant, make sure you at least hit these main points, because that's what you're going to be judged on, that might help them not only write to the grant, but improve their writing.
Yeah, well,
because the way, I mean, and I know in recent semesters, every semester the questions we're using to grade them are changing, and if it stays consistent, it's a little easier to improve.
Yeah.
But if you can say, hey, you're going to be graded on the prestige of your event, how will you deserve it, and the quality of work you've done, or something like that, then it's a little easier to write to that.
Yeah, actually, that was one of the things we discussed today, but we hadn't really decided. We were thinking about possibly creating a rubric to help guide the scorers that we would actually put into the manual so that applicants could see it as well.
Yeah.
We hadn't really, because that's going to take, we would probably have to put together a committee to actually come up with a rubric of, this is what a 5 for this would look like, this is what a 4 would look like. And that's something we started discussing last year, and then we had a volunteer that wasn't on the committee volunteer to head that up, and then she didn't. So that would be something that we can certainly consider.
Yeah, I think that's something that,
revisiting.
in my opinion, would be very much worth it to pursue.
It's actually reminding me of one of my friends who actually got the grant, and she actually got 100% on her essay. Is that possible? It does mean 5 applicants have to score strongly agree or very satisfying on all of the questions.
Yeah, it's possible.
That's possible.
It's it's anything possible. It's rare.
Yeah, and it was surprising.
Actually, as far as the
Everybody
100,
was discussing
let me
it.
take that back. The 100% would be whoever gets the top score, top overall score is at 100%, and then everything else is ranked
She
after
got
that.
100% on her essay.
Yeah.
It's not out of it. So if she's rated number 1, does mean she get 100%?
Yeah. It was probably our top score that time.
Because I thought it would rate,
No, it's a percentile.
Right, it was percentile.
Yeah, and we rank,
Instead of
it's
percent.
ranked.
Oh.
It's a ranked
And
percentile.
another issue that I heard was that, for example, when we have, different sections, for example, the leadership skills section, my friend, she raised up this issue that she filled up exactly the same as what she did last term, and her percentage got lower. Is that also percentile?
That's quite possible. Yeah, that's percentile. It's also that's actually the objective scoring part, because the computer scores that.
Right, so how?
It's comparing what other people did.
So if you, I'm just not clear.
I don't have the computer in front of me, so I can't tell you what it was comparing to, because her score was compared, what she did was compared to what somebody else did. So maybe somebody else did something more.
But because you have a position to select, so I thought it was under the choice.
It's pretty hard in place. You're going to put it for speaking.
Yeah, the point is, well, if people allowed to speak twice, it's been a sort of long question.
I would be glad to sit and talk with you after we're done with the meeting if you want, okay? Be happy to do that.
I think you mentioned that if someone goes in and scores consistently low, they're going to take a further look at why that person is doing that, right? Can that happen the other way? Can someone go in and just go excellent, 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 next, excellent, excellent, next? Are you going to look at that as well? Because that's also a bias there.
Yeah, that is a bias. We haven't talked about looking at that because people don't usually complain when they're scored high.
That's true, but it's
You know?
someone is still losing though.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I see your point. That would be something else that we should take into consideration and look at. It just hadn't come up before.
Yeah. I guess we shouldn't base our actions off of when people complain and not. So.
Yeah.
Further questions?
I'd just like to make a comment, regardless of
Yeah,
process.
sorry, I thought what you have to ask. Any further questions?
Yeah. I guess just one final. Almost every application we get in PEGS is absolutely worthy. And if we had unlimited money, I would love to give everybody, I would love to fund everyone, but it is unfortunate that we can't. And, if you didn't get scored, it's not because you're not worthy. I mean, if you didn't get a grant, it's not because you're not worthy. It's just because that's the way the scoring fell out. I didn't get funded this semester, if it makes you feel better. That's how unbiased we are.
All right, we are now in line for a period of announcements, a maximum of 1 minute per announcement, but you may be recognized for any announcements you may have. Anyone have any announcements? All right, seeing none, before we move on to new business, which is our next order of business, I wanted to make sure that no one came in and didn't have a clicker at this point, just so we can rearrange the vote if we need to. So do all senators present have a clicker so that you're able to vote on the new business? Perfect. All right, so next in line is new business. We'll start with GB 74. So we're now in line to consider GB 274, a bill to allocate student organizations funds. Screen for you here. All right, so we'll begin with the opportunity to speak in favor, and Senator Roberts.
So this is the bill from the funding hearing last night. We had requests for about $10,000, but we have about $32,000 to give for the whole year. So we cut it down by quite a bit and allocated just under $5,000. Everything, I apologize for sending it out, but the meeting was last night, so you all got it this morning, I guess. So everything is itemized there. If you have any questions, I can take those. As a separate note, if any of these organizations or people representing these organizations are in your department, please have them email all receipts to Smirty, the treasurer. She needs the email copy, and Julie Garcia needs the hard copy. And people haven't really been great about doing that. So if they want their money, they should return receipts.
Thank you. And just as a note, as a point of order, I'm not sure if we did it last week, but I'll try to alternate between speech in favor and speech opposed. And if there's not on one side, we'll just keep going back to whoever's available. So having a speech in favor, we'll now entertain a speech in opposition. Are there any speeches in opposition? Any in favor? This is the point where you can make any motions.
Make a motion, vote.
There's been a call in the previous question. Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any objections to moving on to a vote? Hearing none, we'll pull up the slides so that we're able to vote on this question. Try to make sure this works. All right, so now we will consider, so a vote in favor of the bill will be 1 yes, 2 no, etc. We'll now consider the bill, GB 74, which is a, down here, a bill to allocate student organizations funds. Please indicate your vote as if we give the timer back. Started. 1 second. You get the picture. Okay, just start this real quick.
All right, here we go.
Okay.
Vote now.
And by a vote of 64 to 1, this bill does pass. All right. Very good. Next in line is Resolution GR 56, a resolution to amend the rules of order. We'll have that up. And first in favor would the opportunity.
This is a follow-up to the heavy lifting that we did last week. As Blair and I were going over the rules, we found some, wording that needed to be clarified. And we also are changing the size of the committees. So now you'll see, for example, the activities committee will be between 5 and 10 members, plus the ex-officio members are chair. And yes, these are the small rule changes that we're trying to accomplish.
All right. That would be considered the first speech in favor. Are there any in opposition? Any additional speeches in favor? Any questions?
Move for vote on the question.
There's been a call to previous question. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any objections? The word. Any objections? Hearing none, we'll move to the previous question on GR 54, a resolution to amend the rules of order. Please vote now. And by a vote of 63 to 0 to 1 abstention, this resolution does pass. All right. Our last order of business for today is a period of open speech. We'll recognize anyone for any open speech that you make. We'll start with the president.
All right, so you must have all heard about the tobacco-free policy that's been implemented. So you're not going to have any debates here. I'm just wanting to know what the tobacco-free. So I'm just wanting to know if you've heard any feedback about it and if you wish to share, so that I can take this feedback to the administrators.
I know in Capel, we're a land-grant university supporting agriculture. Tobacco is one of the main crops in South Carolina. And I don't know, I haven't heard any feedback yet from tobacco farmers, but there might be a lot of resistance against that for them. So that's just something to put out there. We're supposed to support farming and agriculture, and tobacco is a huge crop in South Carolina.
Additional questions or feedback?
I assume that everybody's in favor of this.
I have to admit that this is my first time hearing about this discussion. What exactly is happening?
Well, it's just going to have a campus tobacco-free. That's a policy that they're implementing starting January 1st. We're going to have it.